Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CCSN podcast. I'm Chris Casella here today with my partner, Chase Carlos. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the MLB and NFL. Really, no NBA news today, so we're just going to keep it with those two. But starting off right with the MLB, I think the Cy Young candidate, Justin Verlander, this was the game where I think he cemented it. He went 6 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts, 0 walks, 0 hits against the Twins on Tuesday night. His ERA is down to 1.87, 16-3, 0.85 WHIP, and his WAR is up to 4.7 right now. The most impressive thing about this outing to me was this 39-year-old guy. He knows he's going to win Cy Young probably. He's on one of the best teams in the American League, if not the best team in the American League right now. And he goes, you know what? I'm done. I'm done pitching. I got a lead. I don't want to risk my arm. And a lot of guys, they'd be like, what the fuck? Like, I'm finishing this game. I'm going out there. I'm going to win this game. No, he said, you know what? This is better for the long run. This is better for me in the long run. And this is better for the team in the long run. So, he left the game. They ended up winning the game 4-2. And I just think that shows the veteran leadership in Verlander, and not just how great of a pitcher he is, but just guy and teammate in general.
He's just exactly what it means to be an ace in the modern day. You love just watching him pitch every single day. And we talk about it a couple times. It's kind of like a second coming of Verlander's career right now. We were watching him for a while, and it looked like he was going downhill for a minute. Not even just downhill, but natural regression. And for whatever reason, he just took a complete 360. The velocity's ticking back up, the spin rate's ticking back up, everything is going back up, and it's just so much fun to see. I think you're completely correct. He's the runaway with the Cy Young at the moment, going 6 perfect innings, and then having the wherewithal to say, "All right, I'm done." Like as you were saying, it's so much more important not to be pitching in this game at the end of August, but be pitching in October and hopefully for them in September.
Exactly. So I think Verlander is going to be great in the postseason, and if he can get another ring this year and another postseason dominance, it might be a little bit of a reach, but I think that would put him in the GOAT conversation. Two Cy Youngs, an MVP, dominant postseason record. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying. So I think that could definitely help his case for that. But another really exciting team right now in the MLB, the Cardinals. It seems like they do this every year. We were talking about it a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about, pretty soon they're going to become the best team in the MLB. And what did they do? They've won 9 out of 10. Jordan Montgomery looks like the best pitcher in baseball right now. And just to break it down a little bit, in his last 7 games, he has a 4-0 record. His ERA is 0.35, or his last 4 games. I apologize. He has 25 innings pitched, 13 hits, 1 earned run, and 3 walks, 24 strikeouts, and a 0.62 WHIP. He threw his first complete game a couple of nights ago, or last week, 1 hit allowed, 9 innings pitched. And the funniest part about this was yesterday, Brian Cashman had a press conference, and he was like, we don't regret trading Jordan Montgomery. We have Harrison Bader. We got one of our needs. And yes, Harrison Bader is a Gold Glove center fielder, but you just traded the guy who literally, if there was a first half Cy Young award and a second half Cy Young award, Jordan Montgomery would probably be running away with that right now.
Yeah, I honestly, I feel like that's probably the move that's going to come back from this deadline and bite the Yankees the most. They traded away a guy who they desperately need right now, and they got a guy who's sitting on the bench injured at the moment. So, like, I love Harrison Bader. He's a great player, and eventually he'll probably be a great value piece for the Yankees. But they need Monty in that rotation right now, and I didn't understand it when it happened. I don't really understand it now either.
The thing about it is, too, I was reading an interview with Montgomery, and he didn't know why he was traded. He was like, I thought I was having a pretty good year. I thought I was a good piece of that rotation, and boom, I got traded. I mean, he knew it was part of the business, but I feel like that was really shocking to Yankees fans, and even Cardinals fans probably like, wow, like, all right. It was a little weird too, because like Harrison Bader seemed like a Cardinals staple kind of player, but Cardinals always know what they're doing in my eyes. I mean, another guy who's just been killing it, obviously we all know this, but Paul Goldschmidt. And if anyone thinks that this man isn't the NL MVP, I do not know what to say. His stat line this year is incredible. He has 31 home runs, 100 RBIs. He's batting 335. His on-base percentage is 417. He has an OPS of 1.039. Like, come on, like it's ridiculous right now. And him and Nolan Arenado are the best corner duo in the league, I would say. I mean, defensively, offensively, you name it, they're going to give it to you. Nolan Arenado right now, he has 26 home runs, 82 RBIs. He's batting 301, on base percentage 366, OPS 925, and statistically, he's still a top three third baseman in baseball. I mean, what else can you ask for from your corners in the MLB?
Yeah, there's no debate that they're the best corner duo in baseball right now, and they've been that way for the past few years at this point. And I just love what they're building out there with the Cardinals. Like, there's just so much to like you said with the duo there. But you've got some great pitching right now with Monty, and all their guys are stepping up. Wainwright has been absolutely exceptional this season, and you get Flaherty healthy, and you see like a real dangerous rotation there. So there's just a lot to like with the Cardinals, and their prospect pool is very fun. Jordan Walker is one of the most fun prospects in my opinion. So if I were a Cardinals fan, I would be very excited and very happy with the way that the team is shaping up right now.
Another young guy I really like on that team is Lars Nootbaar right now. I mean, he's been showing up as of recently too. They just have consistently all throughout their roster. I mean, that's what they've been known for. Albert Pujols is literally playing like his prime self right now. So I mean, that's obviously
He's
helping them.
playing
But
better than he's ever played.
yeah, so I mean, it's ridiculous right now. And another guy you were talking about their starting rotation, I really like Miles Mikolos. I think he's an excellent 4/5 in that rotation. And I'm just saying that right now, if I was the Dodgers or the Dodgers, the Braves, the Mets, I'm putting the Cardinals like right there now. And that's a little bit of a push, I guess you could say, but I don't know. I just feel like they know what to do come October. The Cardinals, they're the second most winning franchise in the MLB. So
Like, there's the hype surrounding all these teams, but when I look at it from a position to position breakdown and just the talent on the teams, and I ask myself who is the better team between the Cardinals and the Yankees, I find a hard time telling myself that the Yankees are. Honestly, I feel like that's just not a team that's built very well, but that's a team that gets talked about like they're a contender way more than the Cardinals are. Where I feel like, hey, any team can get hot at the right time, and the Cardinals are showing right now they are hot. They're ready to go win, and what better time to do it with Paul Goldschmidt playing at an MVP level like caliber? You're not going to get that from him ever again.
yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, the big thing hurting the Yankees right now, which they definitely should have addressed more at the deadline, is that bullpen. I mean, you can't have Lou Trevino pitching playoff games in 2022, and that's just the basics of it. But talking about the Yankees, talking about the Cardinals is making me think of the new schedule release that was just released today, actually. It's really cool. If you guys don't know about it, every team is scheduled to play each other for the first time since 2001, I believe. And it's really cool because this is something that I think fans really wanted and players really wanted, if I'm being honest here. I mean, as the Phillies and the Yankees, that is just one matchup I always think of. My dad coming from Pennsylvania and my mom in New York, we always looked forward to that. But when they're playing each other once every 4 times a year, it gets kind of hard to like plan around that. But that's really cool. I mean, there's a lot of cool new matchups coming this year. I have a few written down, some of my favorites. My favorite is opening day. The San Francisco Giants are coming to the New York Yankees on opening day. And that doesn't just mean the San Francisco Giants. That means Aaron Judge and the San Francisco Giants will be making his return to Yankee Stadium on opening day. And you know what? We talked about this earlier on the show. We're saying how Aaron Judge is going to go to San Francisco. And if the MLB scriptwriters are real, this just guaranteed it in my eyes. I mean, that will be incredible. I mean, the tickets for that game are going to be like World Series tickets probably. So, any thoughts on the new schedule?
I find it kind of funny that we've already locked him into a Giants uniform on this podcast. Aaron Judge, he might as well just be a Giant at this point, according to us. But I think there's a lot of validity to that, and I think that's going to make us look pretty good in a few months here. But yeah, that is going to be a very exciting series. That's eventually what happens. No better way to start the season than the Giants. You said it was at New York too?
At New York.
There's no better way.
No better way.
It almost – I know this is nowhere close to the level of player that Aaron Judge, but Baker Mayfield returning to Cleveland week 1.
Yeah.
And on a kind of similar note, not necessarily, but Deshaun Watson's suspension, like coincidentally being lifted the game he goes back to Houston.
Yeah.
So, like you said, the script writers, they might not be completely like rigging the system, but there's a little bit of something going on in these sports. So I
Just
think
something to
the NFL or the MLB is well aware of the fact that the Giants are interested in Aaron Judge, I think.
absolutely. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And you guys heard it here first. That's what's gonna happen. But another really fun matchup that I'm looking forward to is Houston at Dodgers. I mean, I feel like there's really other than I mean, I don't really count the Yankees and Mets fan bases, but I'm talking about an American League franchise and a National League franchise who hate each other with the Dodgers and the Astros. I mean, after that World Series, I don't think a single Dodgers fan will ever admit to liking a single player on the Astros, and the Astros fans will talk their shit. I mean, they'll say, "Hey, we beat you." Like, I don't care if we cheated. I love that. So I think that matchup, it's in LA. So the Houston players are going to be hearing a lot of shit, even though I got, guys like Jose Altuve, even though he technically it's kind of been proven he didn't really cheat, but he's still going to hear it and he's still going to love it. So I mean, really looking forward to that. It's probably going to be a sellout. Another really good one. I feel like it's just a battle of the young new talent. Mariners versus Padres in San Diego. And by this time, Tatis is scheduled to be back. So that's just going to be really cool. Julio Rodriguez, as we've always talked about, is the next coming. And yeah, I mean, Cubs and Cardinals are playing in London. That's really cool. Returning to and it's a little weird though, because I don't think the Cubs are going to be that much better next offseason, but it's still cool to be playing in London.
Yeah, it's important to grow the game, and that's a very big way to do it. You see with all these other sports, the NFL does it, the NBA does it, and the MLB, they've kind of been a bit behind on these trends historically. They kind of stick with their like whole ideals and their way, and they're not willing to change it. You see that with a lot of things. Like pitch clock is the first one that comes to mind. That should have been implemented a long time ago, but they're very set in their way. So I'm very excited to see baseball branch out, and I think we're seeing that a lot more now. Like even this season before we're going overseas, because I feel like the MLB is doing a lot better job at marketing their players, which is really why we're even able to be talking about them now. The MLB is like garnering a real fan base again. It's exciting.
Yeah, this is definitely a W for Rob Manfred. I mean, I know he's had his woes, but I feel like this season he's definitely like stepped it up a little bit. And like that's all you could ask for from your commissioner. I mean, I look at a guy like Roger Goodell, and he's just been a clown, and he will always be a clown to me. And I feel like Manfred, he heard the media, he heard everybody talking shit, saying he's the worst commissioner in sports, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna try. And you know what? He's trying. He's changing some things, and I like what he's doing. So I'm here for it. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. Kind of on a similar note with the managers and the higher ups. How do you feel about the Angels potentially selling their team? That came out this morning.
Yeah, I really like that, but I see a lot of Angels fans saying like, finally, like we'll have a winning team, like all this. Like, no, that does not mean that. I
No.
mean, it means you're heading towards the right direction, I guess you could say, but it didn't happen yet. It's just he announced it that he didn't announce that he's selling the team. He announced that he'll be looking into it. And
And he never once what does a guy say, I'm looking to sell the team and doesn't sell the team. This team will be sold within the near future, I think. And the one misunderstanding that I think a lot of people are having right now is they think that it makes it easier to trade Shohei and Mike Trout. But in reality, a team that's up for sale, you want to get the max value you can in return for that. And what better way to market a team than say, hey, you can get baseball's like unicorn, Shohei Ohtani, and just you've got him for at least another year, and you've got Mike Trout under contract. Do what you want with it. This is a good deal, and it's in like LA. This should
yeah,
be a huge like there should be a huge market for the Angels. I'm excited to see if there's a notable name that comes in and tries to buy this franchise, like a lot of other franchises have been. Like Kanye West tried to buy the Broncos.
yeah.
It's just those kind of things are funny to me.
Alex Rodriguez bought the Timberwolves. So I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot. I really do hope it's someone like that too. I mean, like I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of tired of the old billionaires. Like it's not that fun anymore. Give me let Kanye buy the Angels. I mean, I'm sure they'd start winning somehow. So I mean, like that's something definitely to look forward to. But I mean, talking about Shohei, and that just reminds me that he only has 1 year left until he gets the biggest contract in MLB history. Like the circle's going to start again.
Hmm.
And you know what? Like if the Angels don't, as you said, like it's more marketable with these two guys, obviously. But I'm talking from a team winning standpoint. If the Angels wait, if they end up trading him and they wait till the deadline, that's a huge mistake. I mean, the return they're gonna get compared to if they trade him the first day of winter meetings, it's gonna be remarkable what they get. I mean, they'd still get a really good return, but I don't know. If I'm a team who really wants Shohei Ohtani at the trade deadline next year, and I probably think he's not gonna resign, why would I give you my top 5 prospects if I can wait 4 months, 5 months?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of personality comes into the building. Is it a guy that's like, hell yeah, I want to win right now. All my money is invested into a winning team. I want to have fun. Or is it a guy that's more methodical and he wants to build a team and wants to like build something from the ground up? And what better way to do that than getting a package in return for Shohei Ohtani? So I don't think it's impossible that he's traded this offseason, especially if that move is accelerated and the team is bought fairly quickly. But I just realistically, I don't know if that's possible because these teams, this is like not just multi-million, hundreds of millions of dollars being moved around in these deals. And I think Shohei Ohtani is just going to have to take the hit on the chin just because he's in a situation where that's happening behind the scenes. He is in the peak of his career and he's just going to be playing on a terrible team in like one of the worst like turmoils that I've seen out of any organization in the MLB.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, this is the way I look at it. I mean, if the Angels are smart, they would realize that, hey, we play in LA. We might suck for 2 to 3 years, but people want to play here. So as we were talking about yesterday, there's the hype of a free agent class is always overhyped because you're always hearing this free agent class is going to be great. This free agent class is going to be great. And when you're a team like the Angels, who obviously no matter who buys them, I feel like they're still going to be willing to spend money, which they were, but they were just stupid with it and they didn't know how to actually spend it. But if you can, people are still going to, if Mike Trout's on the market, people are still going to be trying to get him. That's obvious. I mean, they hit a home run yesterday. So he's playing through this and he's still really good. He made a great catch in his return. So, I mean, I don't see any problem really trading him if they wanted to. And Otani, they would get a shit ton for him. So the Angels are smart. They would realize we're not going to win. Let's trade these guys. Let's bolster the farm system, and we could be good in 2 to 3 years. So, I mean, are they going to play their cards right? Probably not, but we'll see.
Yeah, the key word there is if the Angels were smart.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
just never happened. So I think it's just going to be a disaster, however that situation pans out. And I think we said this on our first podcast that whatever, I don't know what happens with Shohei Ohtani. I don't have a magic ball predicting this trade. All I know is that the Angels are going to lose the trade if they make it because you can't win a Shohei Ohtani trade if you're getting rid of him. That's just the plain simple truth.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think what like they could get for him though. Like in the asking price at first is probably going to be like 7 to 8 top prospects. And you
Your
know
top
what? Like,
10. It would be your top 10. Anybody.
and that's the thing. Like, again, as my point, like if I'm a team and they wait till the deadline, I'm just waiting. And that's I feel like the smart move to do at the end of the day. But moving on, another team or another going back to the schedule going back to the schedule that just was released. Another game that I'm really looking forward to is the Mets versus the Orioles. And the reason I say this is because it's kind of a battle of old talent versus your new talent. And I think even with an Orioles roster next year that we were talking about a couple weeks ago, but we could definitely see being really improved, signing a 2 to 3 all-star, not 2 to 3, 2 star guys on the market, adding that depth that they need. And I think that could be just a really good battle next year. And, we've seen the Queens, that stadium sells out like every night. I mean, shout out to Mets fans. You guys really do pack that stadium. So
They
that's
travel well too.
they travel well. I mean, that is true. So that's just another key matchup I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the Adley Rutschman tour, and it's going to be fun one to watch.
The Adley Rushman tour is already upon us. We're watching that every day, man. It's fun. But like you were saying, like old talent, new talent, and at that point, hopefully, we'll be seeing Francisco Alvarez catching games for the Mets, and Brett Beatty will be their everyday third baseman, hopefully. So those are two teams with a lot of fun talent on them. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right saying that's going to be a fun matchup. On the Orioles note, I wanted to make just a quick prediction here because we were talking about them being a spender in free agency, and I was looking through it. Who really makes sense for them? And we know that the premier names on the market, like Judge and DeGrom and Trey Turner, do they want to go to Baltimore? I don't know. Probably not. So I was just kind of looking at those secondary star guys, and I feel like the guy that fits absolutely perfectly for Baltimore, and hopefully I think we could see him be a star in Baltimore, is Dansby Swanson. I think that he's just a very underrated name who's going to be just a very prime candidate for whoever strikes out on Trey Turner. And I think the Baltimore Orioles are going to fall into that perfectly and be willing to overpay him a little bit because he's not this superstar level talent, but he's very good and he's going to be so loved in Baltimore.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. I mean, he's a great defensive shortstop too. He could be a really good leader in that locker room. And, I mean, obviously in baseball, one piece can't really propel you. But if you add like a premier shortstop, and as you said, he's not like, if there's like the levels of like Trey Turner and like all of them, like he's right here. He's not that far below it. And especially these past couple seasons, I mean, he's been proving it. He was the first overall pick, but started off a little slow, and he's been picking it up, and he started to pick it up at the right time. I mean, that contract is right around that corner. And I mean, I'm not trying to beat that one to the ground, but talking about the Braves, I mean, I saw a rumor saying that they were looking to extend him too. And knowing the Braves, that extension is going to be for like $10 million a year for some reason that they're able to do that. So shout out to that Braves general management. And, I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way.
The Braves are an interesting case study to me because a lot of times people are like, oh, like shout out the Braves for rewarding their young players and giving them these contracts that are great. And yeah, it's a lot of security, especially like you look at the Michael Harris one, but it's only $9 million a year. And the way that they're like doing it to these prospects is on their first year of control. They come up and they show prospect or they show promise. They just lock them up long term and get rid of those years of team control. But I really think that long term, that's kind of hurting the prospects. I think Michael Harris is worth way more than $9 million a year. And I feel like, yeah, you love the security. You can't turn down $72 million. But I start to wonder 5 years down the line, he might look at himself like, damn, why did I sign that contract? Why not just like ride it out? And the person that immediately comes to mind with that is Ronald Acuna. He should not have signed that contract. I love him, and I love what he did for the Braves and how loved he is there. But like that contract is a bad business decision for Ronald Acuna. He is worth way more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I mean, another game that comes to mind is Ozzy. He got the same type of extension. And, I've seen a couple of people saying, Acuna's lost his touch. Acuna's lost his power. He's come out and say that his leg is not 100% yet. And, like, he's not hitting 30 bombs. Yeah, I think he has like 12 right now. And, he made the All-Star game, which he probably shouldn't have. But, like, as you said, I love him. But people who are writing this 23-year off right now, like, it's so dumb. Like, I can't wrap my head around it. And I think next year this dude's gonna come out with a bang again.
Yeah, it's not even like he's lost his power by any means. Like you look at anytime he's hitting a home run, it's 460 feet and 115 miles an hour off the bat. He's still got that there. It's just it's not putting itself all together this season. It's probably just because of that injury, and he didn't really. It wasn't a full season for him. He didn't get the off season in. We talk about it all the time. Baseball is a mental sport so much of the time, and sometimes it's just not all there. And I think, as you said, he's a 23-year-old. He's had some of the highest highs in baseball. There is no reason to write him off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Braves team, they're built for the future. That's for sure. I mean, their star talents are
They
all like
always are.
They always are. And I mean, like, kudos to them. They're doing it right. I mean, they extended Austin Riley, they extended Acuna, they extended Ozzy, they extended Matt Olson. One other guy I can't really think. Oh, and who did we just say? Michael Harris. All in 2 years.
Did they extend Strider at this point too?
I don't
I
think they
listened
did
to
yet.
I know I was listening to Snicker, their general manager, the other day, and he was Strider was the person he was talking about the most, the person he was raving about the most, and I remember him talking about wanting to get him locked up long term. I wasn't sure if he had done it, but that's something that I think we're going to see in the next few years, or not even next few years, next few months, honestly.
Yeah, the only guy I can really see leaving them, and it's not even after, it's after not this year, next year. So I mean, they still have a year with them. Max Fried. I don't think they're going to be able to keep him on the roster long term because I think he's going to be making like, I could see him getting like 25 a year, and I don't know if the Braves are going to
I
be
can
willing
see
to do
more.
that.
He's been an
Yeah,
absolute ace this year.
yeah, like 25 plus. So I mean, it's definitely. I just don't see him staying long term. But hey, if you're only losing one guy out of that core, I don't really feel bad for you.
Yeah, honestly, and it's not even like you're losing those guys. You honestly might not even have to with these deals that you gave out to these other guys. Like you might be okay with just paying Max Fried with the leftover money between the that you saved from the Albies, the Olsen, and the Acuna and the Harris contract. Like that might just be enough to pay the guy. It's
Yeah,
very the way they run their team is very fun.
it's very smart. That's one thing I'll give them.
I don't know what is going on with the Braves, but every time I keep saying something, it's pulling up Siri on my computer. I don't know what's getting cut out here for me saying, but Braves are doing well. I have no clue what I was able to pick up there. So
No, I got all of it. I got all of
okay,
it. But
good.
yeah, definitely. Braves are set for a very long time. You got anything for them else for the MLB today?
No,
All right. So moving on to the NFL, we're gonna be doing our division predictions, but we're gonna be doing it a little differently. We're gonna just be doing one division per podcast. So we're gonna be starting it off hot, AFC East. Chase, you want to go? I should go first.
I'm pulling up the over unders right now. If you want
Okay.
to start off,
Okay. So I'm gonna give I have my predictions. I have who I think they're gonna win against, who I think they're gonna lose against, and some reasons why, some things I like, and just some stuff like that. But to start it off, I got the Bills going 13-4. I got the Finns going 9-8. I got the Jets going 7-10, and I got the Pats going 7-10.
the Pats at 7-10. You
Yes.
have them finishing last in the division.
Yes, I do.
Has that ever happened with Bill Belichick as the head coach?
That has never happened, but there's always a time. And I think if there's a year, it's gonna be this year. I have my
I
reasons.
Okay, I don't know honestly. They're set at 8.5 wins here, so 7 is not that low of a total. I guess that you're predicting this to be a fairly competitive division then, with a lot of like
I'm ex-
interdivisional losses.
I'm expecting it to be very competitive, but these are my reasons why behind. I think Mac Jones is going to take a progression. He's going to not progression, a regression a little bit. And the reason why all of these play callers that the Patriots have had, even since the beginning of Brady, their offensive coordinators have always been considered kind of elite. And now you're going from Josh McDaniels, he has his questions about being a head coach, but we all know he was a pretty damn good offensive coordinator. But you're going from him to Matt Patricia and Joe Judge calling the plays for Mac Jones. And apparently they have looked awful through camp right now. And I just don't really like any of their weapons. I don't see an X factor on that team right now. And I don't like their secondary. I mean, Terrence Mitchell and Jalen Mills are their 1 and 2 cornerback. Terrence Mitchell has always just been known as like a shithead, and he's not really good. Jalen Mills is not really good. He should be a safety, in my opinion. I do like some of their safeties on their roster. I mean, I really do like Kyle Duggar. I think he could propel himself this year. I mean, he was kind of overrated last year before he got hurt. And then Jabril Peppers, he's coming back from an injury, and he's 25 years old, and was pretty cool in college, and I like that. And apparently he's looked pretty decent in camp so far. The thing with Mac Jones, I really, really like Mac Jones, but I have a little stat right here that worries me a lot about him. And one thing we all know about the NFL is you can watch tape. And he's a really good year one. I mean, he led to them playoffs. They went 10-7. But the difference between zone coverage and man coverage with Mac Jones was a hell of a lot different. His completion percentage in zone was 76 points or 72.6. Completion in man was 56.1. Yards per attempt, 7.9 to 6.6. and QB rating was 91, and then all the way down to 81. His arm strength worries me just because it's there. Defenses are gonna learn to adjust to him. He was really in zone. He can't outsmart defenders really. He can outsmart defenders. He can throw into open windows. And in man coverage, since the defender is, typically looking at the receiver, he can't really fool the defender. And as I mentioned, I don't really think there's one weapon that forces a team back into zone coverage. I mean, their best wide receiver on paper is Kendrick Bourne, and he's been, a problem in camp so far.
Devontae Parker's a better receiver than Kendrick Bourne. And I
Yeah,
like
but
Kendrick Bourne, but
I think right now Kendrick Bourne. I don't know. I respect that, but Devontae Parker, I feel like it's always been supposed to be the number one receiver, and he had like a good year a couple years ago, a good 2 years, but like
his quarterbacks his entire career have been Ryan Tannehill and Tua Tagovailoa, and like whoever the Dolphins' backup was at any given point that was starting some games. I think that he's going to have his best season in New England. I don't even think that's a question. He's been their number one receiver all throughout the camp, and I think there's just such a high floor for the Patriots. Every year under Bill Belichick, they are one of, if not the best road teams in the NFL. They always show up on the road. Last year, they were 6-2 on the road with a +7 turnover margin. They play better, and their defense especially plays better on the road. That comes down to scheming. I don't care who you have at cornerback in your secondary. That's the reason they let J.C. Jackson walk. That's the reason they let Stephon Gilmore walk. This is not an incompetent front office with the Patriots. I think that they just know that there's a value to cornerbacks, and they're able to just make them more valuable with their front seven and their scheme. Like Jalen Mills played fine last season for them. I'm sure Terrence Mitchell is probably going to play fine for them. J.C. Jackson, I feel like, was almost more a product of the scheme than people realize. This team only allowed 300 points last season as a whole unit through literally 16 games. I'm not very great at math, but that's not a lot per game. So it's under 20. I really just like the floor of this team. When teams with high floors are always good at running the ball, they always have a great offensive line. That is exactly the Patriots' MO. They are not going to be a team that's going out there to pass the ball this season, but they weren't that last season either. I mean, they won a game with Mac Jones throwing 3 passes against the Bills. They are able to lean on the running game. They're able to lean on just Bill Belichick's mind and controlling the game. So yeah, I agree. This team does not have the talent on paper to be a 9-win team or a 10-win team. But how often do the Patriots actually have that kind of talent compared to how often do they produce those kind of wins? Like last season, they were supposed to be a bottom feeder. People were talking about them as a Super Bowl contender towards the end of the year. They're like, yeah, watch out for the Patriots. I think they could make that run. And honestly, it wasn't crazy. It was not crazy to think. And I just find it so hard to believe that Bill Belichick will lose the division.
I definitely don't. You think they're going to beat the Bills?
No, I think the Bills are my division standings are the Bills, the Pats, and I think just the Dolphins at 3. Okay, I'm fine putting them there, but I'm not as high on the Dolphins as most people. I think it's going to be pretty close between them and the Jets, honestly.
See, I don't see it with the Patriots. Like Matt Patricia calling the plays is just really stood out to me.
Yeah, that scares me.
And I can't see that progressing to a lot of winning football. That's just how I look at it.
The reason that doesn't scare me as much as I think it does to you, though, is I did not hold Josh McDaniels in high regard. I feel like that he's just a bum. I've never really liked Josh McDaniels, and yeah, he's put together some great offenses, but he's had Tom Brady as his quarterback. Of course you're going to put together great offenses, but you're not that offensive coordinator. Tom Brady's the offensive coordinator on his team. So we'll see how his career goes as a head coach now, but I'm not a fan.
I just really think what's going to take that offense is to get an elite wide receiver. Because it's easy to adjust to things like that. I mean, just one thing that really stuck out to me was, I don't know if you remember that stat last year when the Patriots had 0 negative plays. They led the league in scoring, but when they had a negative play, they dropped all the way down to 26. I mean, that just kind of shows me there are some troubles with Mac's arm. I mean, not just really he can make the throws though. Like that's one thing. I think Mac Jones is a very good quarterback, but he relies heavily on just some things that defenses can adjust to. I mean, on 3rd and 9, for example, they were dead on 3rd down with on 3rd and 9 plus, they were dead last in completion. And on 3rd down from a 1 yard to 8 yard gain, they had the best completion rate in the NFL. So it's just like little things like that where I'm like, like those are some things that people are going to be going into and being like, we can adjust to this guy. And I mean, I think, as you said, I do agree with you. Like a lot of it comes down to systems when it is defense, but like, I just don't know if that offense is going to be able to like, if there is a shootout, do you think they can stay in a game with them? Like with a high powered offense? It's just little things like that.
No, but the Patriots do such a good job at controlling that and not getting into those situations. A lot of times, like, I mean, they played Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship, and they were able to not allow him to do anything. They were able to keep that game a low-scoring game and compete with him. And sure, you had Tom Brady then, but that game was won off the defense, really. Their defense is able to do that, and you still have the same guy calling the plays defensively in Bill Belichick. And for as long as he's the coach of the Patriots, I expect them to have a top 10 defense and at least a competent offense with a very good rushing attack. And that's enough for me to give them 8 wins.
Yeah, I just think this season ends with Bill Belichick retiring and moving to Jupiter, Florida with his girlfriend Linda. I just really think
Bill
that
Belichick will be coaching for the next, close to a decade.
Yeah, it'd be stupid. 70
He
years
will
old. Go and enjoy your life, Bill.
Yeah, but this is him enjoying his life. This is Bill Belichick enjoying life. And I feel like he would have retired right after Brady left, if that was what his plan was. But no, he got another quarterback, and he got another guy to attach himself to. And look at the way the Patriots team attaches themselves to Mac Jones. He made it into the NFL top 100, which if the way that the NFL top 100 is voted is every player that wants to do it gets a list of 20 people, and they just get to write names down, which means there were people putting Mac Jones in their top 20. And
That's
I'm
just
sure
ridiculous.
But I'm sure that's his teammates,
Yeah.
of course, putting him there. But that tells me that there's at least something to like with Mac Jones. There are people that respect Mac Jones, because that's what this list is. It's the NFL's top 100 most respected players, not the best players.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're talking about, yeah, you're right. I give that to you. When it comes to like liking a player, I get your point with that whole thing, but I mean, it comes down to talent at the end of the day. That's just like really it. I mean, yeah, Mac Jones can be a really cool dude. I mean, from what I've seen, Blake Bortles is a really cool dude, and his teammates liked him. But it all comes down to the talent and what you can do at the end of the day. And I just see them finishing last. I think it's the end.
Below the Jets.
Below the Jets.
Below the Jets, man.
Below the Jets.
I don't know.
I like the Jets a whole lot more on paper.
The Jets are a very fun team on paper, but I have not seen. Look, Zach Wilson, he's got all the intent, or he's got all the tools, man. But on tape, he has not given me anything to hang my hat on with Zach Wilson. He was better in the second half of the season last year, but that's because the bar he set was Sam Darnold level bad. That was what he was getting compared to at the beginning. Did we do this again? Did we get Sam Darnold again? And look, he throws the hardest ball out of anybody in the league, and I don't know, he can run a little bit, but he just hasn't put it on tape yet for me to say that they're going to be not the worst team in the division, especially because I don't trust their defense by any means.
I think they have a really good. I think they're building a pretty good defense, if I'm being honest. I mean, I really think DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner are going to be a pretty good duo for the future. DJ Reed's only 25 years old. Sauce Gardner was just drafted. I mean, they're building something there, definitely.
I agree. I think it's not wrong to be high on the Mets, the Jets for the future. It's
Same
just
thing.
Really, it's just like this year in that division with a quarterback who's kind of basically a rookie, in my opinion. You can't. I wouldn't be betting on their over. I'll put that out there.
What's their over?
I honestly think it's 5.5. Yeah, 5.5.
See, I look at I
might bet on a 5.5 over.
their schedule is like, I look at it, I mean, like, they don't have like consistently hard games, like I look at the schedule like the Dolphins, and they're opening with the Patriots, which, I said I think they're going to finish last in division, but you're facing the Patriots, week one division rival, so you can't always count that out. But they go Pats, Ravens, Bills, Bengals, like boom, 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 boom. Then I look at them and it's Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Steelers. So I mean, it's a little, it's hard, but like it's not as bad as that. They have a little more like leeway. They go from
I
Lamar
don't know.
Jackson to Brissett to Burrow to, either Mitch Trubisky, I guess, right now. So like I just feel like it all comes down to that too.
This is a team that got outscored by close to 200 points on the season last year.
The Jets.
194 points, yeah, was the difference in the score last season. 194.
I like
That's
the
pretty
run.
much
I like. God.
that's pretty much the amount of points that the Patriots held other teams to, and they allowed. Let me see here. 504 points was their defense allowed. That is
No, I'm not.
insane. And like I like Robert Saleh as a defensive coordinator, and I like or defensive minded head coach, and I like their talent. Jermaine Johnson was a good pickup. Sauce Gardner, A1 Sweet Feet Sauce Gardner, he's great. I love him. He was my number one corner this season, but I'm looking at the linebacker position. There's not much there. You got Quincy Williams. Okay, you have like I honestly don't know who they have playing safety for them after they lost Marcus May.
They have LaMarcus Joyner and Jordan Whitehead.
LaMarcus Joyner has been a decent player at points in his career, but Jordan Whitehead's a career backup, so you're really hoping for something out of him there in a two deep safety league. I don't know if that's going to fly.
I'm also excited to see Carl Larson come back though.
Carl Lawson,
because that was
he was going to have a breakout year last year.
so
That bothered me.
That was a big thing. So I just feel like a lot of things that you said contributed from injury, and like as you said, Zach Wilson's terrible first half and Robert Saleh being a rookie head coach, and I just see a lot of those things being fixed coming into this year. And you know what? I could be completely wrong, but I just see that I can see it them lifting up a little more this year. I mean, I really like Garrett Wilson. I really like Elijah Moore. I think Hall and Carter are going to be really good for that rushing attack. I mean, you had Michael Carter as your running back one last year. I mean, I don't see him as a running back one, but Hall was my best running back coming out of the draft, and I think that adds a lot of value to it. And losing Becton hurts them a lot though, because I was a lot higher on their offensive line before they lost him, and frankly, I just don't think he's ever going to be healthy.
They weren't higher on their offensive line with him apparently though. They liked it with Fant and their I forget if they have a right tackle, but they liked it better without Becton there. Honestly, from like the reports that were coming out, they wanted to shop him, which I don't get. He's identical to Ikemba Kwanu, who was drafted this year to me.
Font had a really good year last year, honestly. I mean, he had a career year, so you can't really knock that. And I mean, like, I just think the battle between the Jets and the Patriots for that little third or fourth spot is going to be a little challenge. And my big thing with Miami, I'm just going to put this out there, I really just feel like they're constructing a 49ers offense. And the big thing, we've talked about this, we're really both not like the highest on Tua, but genuinely when people say like he's a bust, all that, I don't really think he's a bust. Like bust is the wrong word to me. The
he's
offense
not Josh Rosen.
Who?
He's not Josh Rosen.
Oh, I thought you said Josh Groban, but sorry. But I just really like what Mike McDaniel's doing in that offense. I mean, another name that I just like that just screamed 49ers offense to me that they brought in was Cedric Wilson. And I think Cedric Wilson, Jalen Waddle, obviously Tyreek Hill. I mean, Tyreek Hill has looked phenomenal in camp. I mean, like you got to give that to him. Tua has looked better. I really like some pieces they have on defense. I really think Jalen Phillips this is gonna be his breakout year. I think he's phenomenal. And I don't know. The only thing that bothers me, and I think that could be like the thing. Well, first of all, I don't like their running back room. We talked about that, and I think that has to be really upgraded. But the thing that will hold Tua back as much as that offense together is just the offensive line. I mean, they have a lot of questions, and they can be a bottom 10 they can be bottom 10 this year. So like that is definitely something to question. But if they can be somewhat decent, I think that offense can be really, really good.
Yeah, as you were saying, they're one major injury on that offensive line away from just being completely back where they were last year, which is the bottom of the league, which is it's scary, especially for a quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa, who needs that time in the pocket to just sit and read the field. He's not this guy that can make these off schedule plays. And I think that's going to be to the detriment of Tyreek Hill. And we already saw it to the detriment of David Waddle last season. But the real reason that I'm not willing to bet on the Dolphins until I see something out of them, because I 100% agree with everything you said on the fact that you like what they're building and the team that they have there, like the talent, the personnel. Jalen Phillips, he was one of my favorite like players coming out of the draft last season. I think he's has the chance to be like an elite edge rusher. He's got so much tools. You want to talk about bag work for an edge rusher? He's got it. So there's that. But the way it's their front office that scares me. And they just lost their first round pick because they're getting punished for that kind of stuff. And I don't ever trust that front office to field a competent team. I didn't trust that front office to make the right head coach hire. I was saying that the whole time after they fired Flores for no reason, except for there were reasons, but none real football related reasons. And you went and hired really the youngest head coach I've ever seen in my life, not named Sean McVay. And I like Mike McDaniel's mind. I like him as a person, but is he a NFL head coach? We've never seen anything like this before. And for a team that's got so many questions already, their offensive line has questions. So you've got to figure that out. You've got to figure out the running back room. You've got to figure out your quarterback. Like, how is he going to work? You got to figure out the linebacker position. And there's just a couple of other issues on that team that I'm a little bit scared about. And is Mike McDaniels the guy that's going to come in here and fix those right away? I don't know.
See, the thing with Mike McDaniels that I was talking about, like the 49ers offense similarity, I think the one thing he's going to really do for Tua is make his job a hell of a lot easier. And like from a guy who like, it seems like he needs a little bit of like the confidence booster, like just as a career overall, like that's huge for a guy like that. And I mean, like this is his second year. Like he's coming into that. I mean, like, I don't know. I just really think this can be like, or his third year, excuse me. But I don't know. I just really think that can help him overall just as a player.
I think they'll be better than they were last year. I think that it's a very low bar to set. They were at one point like 1-8. They had a chance to really be like top, like number one pick territory until they played the Jets twice and they got a couple of easy wins in there that really they didn't deserve if you look back at it. But I think you're right to be higher on them, and probably, I mean, what's their line at here? It's at 8.5. It's the same as the Patriots. I'm not willing to take that. Am I willing to bet that the Dolphins are a winning team this season with Tua at quarterback?
This is another thing I was looking at. I mean,
they won 9 games last season. I forgot about that.
So, I mean, they have a stretch this year where after they have that hard ass stretch, they have Jets, Vikings, Steelers, Lions, Bears, Browns, Texans. So like it's just like little things like that. And I mean, and then they have they have a really actually hard stretch where it's 49ers, Chargers, Bills, Packers, but then they end on Pats, Jets. So I mean, that little stretch at the end of the year, I think is going to be like make or break for a team like that. Like those last 6 weeks, like if you don't have it figured out by now, like you're not going to have it figured out. Like that's just how I look at a team like that.
Yeah. And they were very good in the division last year. They went 4-2 in the division. So it's not like they're a horrible team that like you can't project to be better, but like again,
do I see them making playoff noise? No.
Well, that's what. Do you see them making the playoffs?
I could see them
9 wins. 9 wins puts them right at the borderline there.
Yeah, I could see you fighting for a spot. I don't see you doing anything in the playoffs because that's again we talked about this for all sports. There's a difference between like making the playoffs and actually being a competitor. I feel like especially in like the NFL, I feel like there's always that one team that sneaks in every year, and you're like, how the hell did they get here? And
the Raiders.
they use the Raiders. I mean, like, for being honest, the Eagles last year, like there's always like a team, and then they go to the playoffs and they lose. Like, and I can just see like the Dolphins making the playoffs, and then you got to face the Bills round one, and like then that's what happens, something like that. But that's my little reasoning behind that. But
Yeah, I don't think
I'm
you're
just
all
happy
against
you
it.
didn't come over here and say something like, I could really see the Bills like coming in second or like struggling or
Yeah, no, Bills are going to run away with the regular season. Come playoff times,
genuinely.
it comes down to just quarterback versus quarterback half the time in those matchups. But who better than Josh Allen? Like
I
I think
think
it's so easy to bet on the Bills this year.
they have, in my opinion, I think they're going to finish with a top five offense, a top five defense. And, you know, talking about the top five defense, one
I
guy
actually
that I
want
can,
to one thing about that. The Bills, even with at Josh Allen's MVP like level season, they have never had a top five offense. They always stick around the 6 to 10 range because of the way that they control their defense. And I think that you're right. They're gonna have an elite offense, but it's so hard to see them. What's the jump from Josh Allen throwing like scoring 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards? Like how does the offense get better? That's the only thing I gotta say about that.
well, I mean, like, again, like we talked about this, like there's like PPF, like they would they would tell you some players are shit. Like that's like, I feel like there's ranking like top five offense, but then like if you were to break down top five offenses, like you could say like, what, I would say this offense is better, but as you just said, the defense knows how to control the game a little bit more. So like they're not going to score as much, but if they were given the same amount of opportunities as say this offense, I think they could do the same thing and or better.
That's an amazing point. And to that point, something that I see a lot on social media right now is judging quarterbacks just based off of points per drive. Who's scoring the most points per drive, and those are the best quarterbacks. And that is why everybody has Justin Herbert as a top 3 quarterback last year because he led the number 1 scoring offense in the league.
And
Okay,
I wouldn't say they were the number one offense.
they weren't. They just
That's
had its opportunity, and so it comes down to like just judging and looking at what the actual situation is rather than just numbers sometimes.
that's
And
the thing. It's more than stats.
exactly, and
More than stats sometimes.
that's one that bothers me because it's like it's not even just a quarterback stat. You're looking at an entire offensive stat and just judging one player based off of it. That almost feels like using quarterback wins to me.
Yeah.
Like it's a dumb stat, and there's value to it, and you can see who's leading good offenses and who's scoring a lot on at every drive. But that's all circumstantial. Like I'm sure the Patriots were fairly high up, or no, not last year, no, but like you know what I mean. You could the Niners, the one year that Jimmy G had a really decent season. He had like 27 touchdowns. They had a good offense. I'm sure they were pretty high in points per drive that year. Jimmy G
Yeah.
was still at that time. He has never been a top 20 quarterback in the league. So that's just something that I feel like a lot of people overlook.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's just like the way that every sport now is run, especially through social media, is a lot of people literally won't even watch games. They'll watch numbers. And like there's a lot of difference. Like there's the eye test, and obviously numbers do mean stuff. Like I'm not one of those people saying like, you know, I'm not one of those people saying numbers don't matter, but the eye test matters a hell of a lot too. So
Numbers
like
need context added to them.
exactly. I mean, there's garbage numbers too. So I mean, I guess like every, again, I really think Justin Jefferson is going to be great this year, but even during his rookie year, a lot of his yards came during garbage time, and people were saying, this dude's top 2, this dude's top 3 already. And after his rookie year, and you actually go back and look at certain things, you're like, well, I mean, he's doing this. Yeah, he had 50 yards in the fourth quarter and a touchdown, but they were already down by 65 points. Like just like little things like that.
Yeah, and like you take advantage of an easy matchup. Say I don't have any like actual context to put this to, ironically, but say he just has a cornerback 4. That was like during the COVID year was his first year. So say the whole front line is out. Of course you're going to have a better game. Of course you're going to put up better numbers. But in a real controlled situation, that might not happen. So that's the kind of stuff that gets overlooked. And it's a little bit different with baseball because baseball is you can score every single play and have it be a real telling like sign of the play. But you can't really do that in football, and that's why there's so many different gradings. That's why PFF has their grading system that is based a lot off of their own eye test, and there's a lot of gray area in the grading that people get a little bit confused about. Zone coverage is the number one gray area in PFF's grading system. They don't know whose assignment is what in zone coverage. They're just chalking it up to whoever's the closest player. And if the closest player, if a guy catches the ball and Minka Fitzpatrick is the closest player, even though he's picking up somebody else's mistake, they're going to chart Minka Fitzpatrick for the mistake there. So that kind of stuff in football, I've said it like 100 times already on this podcast, but numbers just need context, and that is something that's getting lost right now in the sport.
Absolutely. I mean, we're gonna see it a lot this year again. But talking about the Bills, like I look at their team and like it's funny to me because like we all know like the one thing that's like kind of held them back is the running back room. And I think just if James Cook apparently has looked phenomenal in camp so far, and if he can be this guy who can like change the ways a little bit, I mean, he got everything to me. I mean, again, another guy, a touchdown machine, I think is going to be this year. Dawson Knox, like great in the red zone. I think he's going to be his top red zone target. So, I mean, yeah.
Dawson Knox is gonna have a great year. That's my fantasy sleeper this season. I need him to get to my spot there. Which, by the way, little completely random advice, and I don't know why I even thought about this. Do not draft a tight end in the first few rounds of the season. It's not worth it. Just putting it out there. Do not do it. But anyway, with the Bills, you're completely right. They have so much to love in every single position group. There's not one position group, except for maybe the offensive line, which isn't a position group, it's a unit. But there's not one unit outside of the offensive line that I think is below average by any means. And in most situations, I think they're well above average. And if you get Tre'Davious White back in that secondary, I think you have the potential of having the best defense in the NFL this season. We emphasize so often how important it is to have a great two high safety look. And they have two safeties on their team who are probably both around the 5 to 7 top 5 to 7 safeties in the league, but together they make up the best safety duo in the league. Like they are so shut down together, and you have that's just you can't get an explosive play against the Bills unless your name is Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship. But literally in any other situation, it's incredible what the Bills do, and they added Von Miller, and there's some talks about adding Odell Beckham, and I'm very excited.
That would be crazy.
For them. And you don't even need to do it right now. You can just wait and see. Is Gabe Davis showing up? And if he's not, which I think he will, because I'm a huge Gabe Davis fan, you just bring in Odell. And then you've got Isaiah McKenzie, who's apparently running away with the slot position, who he had that one season against the one game against the Patriots. I don't know if you remember, where he literally had like 200 yards. And he was just like, Jesus, for no reason. And they've got just so many of those guys. They drafted another guy this year, late rounds, Khalil Shakir, who I feel is going to be just a complete crazy weapon for them. He's been killing it in training camp and stuff like that, but he's young. It might not happen this year, but Dynasty Leagues, Khalil Shakir, he's going to be a monster. He is their Sky Moore, basically.
Yeah, Bill's definitely know how to draft. I mean, I know we're not a fantasy podcast here, but you were talking about like not drafting a tight end in the first rounds or first 2 rounds. One thing that I'm actually really interested in, I'm not trying to switch divisions, but that just instantly reminded me of the totally different way the Chiefs are going to actually run their offense this year. And I think it's going to be really fun to watch. I think they're going to completely shift it. I mean, they're going to be running it a lot. I mean, obviously they ran it a lot through Travis Kelce, but running it a lot through Travis Kelce. And I think Juju Swift-Schuster they're just going to be the short passes, and they're going to make stuff work in the open. Like it's going to be really fun to watch. I think that's just what I'm trying to say. Yeah, and it's going to be hard for like, especially the first couple of weeks for defenses to like adjust to this. Cause like they were going from, all right, we have to adjust from the deep ball. That's another thing. I think Patrick Mahomes' deep ball rate is going to go down a lot this year, not in a bad way, but to adjust in a way.
It's going to have to, but I do think that they didn't completely lose that vertical stretch. Of course, you're going to lose some part of it when you lose Tyreek Hill, but they still have those speed guys to stretch the top of the defense. You got Hardman. You brought in Sky Moore, who he's maybe more quick than he is fast, but that's just another guy you can send downfield. He's a big play, an explosive play threat. And maybe Mecole Hardman's not this great wide receiver, but Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback. He can put the ball in places downfield for Mecole Hardman to just go get it. And that it might not be as great as it was with Tyreek Hill. He's not some Tyreek Hill replacement, but it is going to open up the middle of the field a lot more. And like you said, they built their team to attack the middle of the field now. So we're going to see a completely new style of play from Patrick Mahomes. And we're going to see, is he really just this gunslinger that can only fit in an offense that's perfect for him? Or is he this all-time great quarterback, which I think he is, that can make it work with anything?
Yeah, I think Mahomes is definitely an all-time great. I think he's going to prove it this year. I mean, I do think, we'll talk about it when we discuss the AFC West. I think they're going to come in second in that division, but I still think he's going to have a great year. I think he'll be the best quarterback out of the division.
Well, yeah, I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Or him and Rodgers, they go back and forth for me.
Did you
Josh
see
Allen,
that?
too.
Yeah, Josh Allen is like he's the man. I love Josh Allen. But anyway, talking about Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes, you see that thing Sammy Watkins said? He's like, Mahomes is great. He said Mahomes is very good, but Aaron Rodgers is on another level. I was like
I understand what he's saying, honestly, because they play quarterback differently. Aaron Rodgers has the most aesthetically pleasing style of quarterback play out of anybody to ever play the game. He puts the ball into the most tight pockets, and he's just able to just float it in there perfectly. There's nobody that throws a better ball than Aaron Rodgers, but there's just extra parts to the game. It's not all about your arm talent. There's some off the field thing. Sure, everybody loves Rodgers on his team, but there is a lot of media stuff around Aaron Rodgers. There is negative stuff around Aaron Rodgers, and a lot of people don't deal very well with that. So I think that, yes, Sammy Watkins is right in the fact that Aaron Rodgers has the best ball placement, and he's the most different quarterback, talent-wise, but Patrick Mahomes, he's got everything. He's got the full package.
I do think if I guess, I get what you're saying, but I was reading the interview and they were talking about the mental aspect of it, and Aaron Rodgers is 12 years older than Mahomes. So obviously, I think that will just come. Mahomes, I think, is going to age like an Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers, not Aaron Rodgers. I think Mahomes could win an MVP when he's 39 or 38 years old too. And those are just little things because when Rodgers was younger, he was known to run around, move around a little bit, and he adjusted his game, obviously. And I think Mahomes is going to do the same thing. And especially with the way, it's not medicine, but the way, things are just evolving. I think Mahomes could be just the same, even better when he's 38 or 39, the way the game's improving and the way everything is just improving. So, I just thought that I'm not hating on Sammy Watkins. I thought it was just a little funny because there were people who were how dare you say that, blah, blah, blah. Because a lot of people just hate Aaron Rodgers too. That's just something. But
this happens with every time a wide receiver, especially a lot of times a wide receiver who's not as good as they think they are, goes to another team. They like to talk a lot, especially
Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
This
is not the first time Sammy Watkins has done this. He's a little bit. I love Sammy, especially in week one, but he gets a bit annoying. I don't know.
Week one, Sammy, baby.
He
said something about
team for that week.
He said something about. I remember he said something about Lamar Jackson being a completely different picture last year too when he was on the Ravens. So it's just you're hyping up your quarterback. You're not doing anything wrong, but it's relax, Sammy. That's just how I look at that. So I know I'm catching you off guard with this, but give me not who you think is going to win MVP, or it could be you think, but give me a sleeper pick. That's what I want.
Well, who I think is Josh Allen.
Me too.
I just think, but that's such a boring pick. Nobody wants Josh Allen to win MVP this year.
I'm saying Joe Burrow.
I'm going. You don't get a team that makes Super Bowl and gets better ever. That just doesn't happen because normally that's the peak of their run. And maybe they might not get back to the Super Bowl, but this is a better team today than it was a few weeks ago and a few months ago, back when they played in the Super Bowl. So I think that they had such an explosive offense in the second half of last season, and nothing changed. except they added more protection and added more weapons. So I feel like you don't even need to hit these explosive plays at the same rate that you were last season, which was at an absolutely astounding rate. Every time they threw the ball deep, it was a completion for a touchdown to Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. Any one of those guys was just catching a touchdown at any given moment. And I don't see that changing. Like Joe Burrow, every time I've ever watched Joe Burrow, I've come away thinking that's an all-time great quarterback. And like, sure, he does not have the intangible, or no, I'm sorry, he does not have the physical tools, but he's got the intangibles. He's got everything that you want in a quarterback. He was taken number one in this one of the all-time great quarterback classes, just because he's that guy. Like there's just nothing more to say about Joe Burrow except for he is him. He was him at LSU. He leads the best offense everywhere he goes. He's got the it factor. And I don't like to bet on that very often, the it factor. I think it's kind of stupid. But there's just one guy in my entire life that is even close to Tom Brady with the it factor, and it's Joe Burrow. That's all I got to say about that.
I mean, you're talking about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Genuinely, like we talked about our top 10 wide receivers, but would you say they're the best duo, Higgins and Chase? Because I think if they're not one, I think they're two.
I think Higgins is overrated.
I think Higgins is overrated.
Like he has never put together a top tier season like any of these other wide receivers. He gets put into the top 10 and top 20 wide receivers, and I don't see it with T. Higgins. I didn't see it coming out of the draft. He's not this crazy explosive guy. He's got a good role in an offense, but I don't think he's ever been a number. Like, I don't think he could ever be a number one in an offense. I just don't.
So who would you say is a better duo?
Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson have to be in there. I think they've got to be my favorite duo in the league. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle is up there. Devontae Smith, AJ Brown is a good one. Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson. Who else? Mike Evans, Julio Jones, or Chris Godwin, whoever's the healthiest. Who else is out there? You could throw Keenan. I don't like Keenan Allen anymore. I'm sorry. He's kind of washed, man.
I don't think Keenan Allen or Mike Williams are better than Higgins.
Oh, hold on. The number one wide receiver duo in the league. I forgot. And there's three people you can put into this.
Adams and Renfrow? Is that what you're going to say?
Yes, sir. Yep. Adams and Renfrow, baby. And,
yeah,
I was
Waller.
Thinking that too. You can throw Waller in there, but I think Adams and Renfrow are the number one duo in the league.
Well, I mean, according to Ryan Clark, Hunter Renfrow is shit. So, I mean, like, that's just one thing. And
Derwin James, I give Derwin James so much respect for just not folding there. Like, just not being like, yeah, like, he's whatever. No, he sat there, he was like, Ryan Clark, like, are you watching the games? Like, turn the tape on. Or Hunter Renfrow, he's like that. He's that guy. There's nobody that has a whip route like Hunter Renfrow. He has an unstoppable move. And in sports, there's nothing better than an unstoppable move. You got Kareem Skyhook. Nobody could stop that. That kept him in the league for so long. Hunter Renfrow's whip route. I'm sorry. Hunter Renfrow's whip route is the equivalent of Kareem Skyhook. That's what I'm going to say.
I like that. That's a good take. That's a good take. One thing that like Renfrow, I feel like is just pushing the narrative a little more. I feel like the slot receiver is just like so. I mean, Cooper Kupp too, but like it's so underrated and like it's being proved. Like I feel like NFL offenses are really starting to like use them more and showing like they can be like really like because it always used to be like your wide receiver 1 and 2 and then your slot receiver.
Yeah, and this is something that I wish that we had started this podcast earlier because right when Cooper Kupp started his dominance tour, I was one of the number one was like, dude, he's doing this against safeties. He had 900 yards and 7 touchdowns against safeties last year. Yeah, he got the Triple Crown. Sean McVay, in my opinion, got the Triple Crown. Cooper Kupp is great. He's a top 20, top 10 receiver, but he is not a top 3 receiver. And I'll put him there just because of his season and how great he was and the numbers that he will put up. But I was asking myself, I wonder if everybody can do this. Because the way that football has gone previously, the only people that were doing that were the people that just weren't talented enough to be on the outside because it just in people's minds, you need Jerry Rice to be there, like a receiver putting up numbers. You don't want a guy playing in the slot. You need just a chain mover there. That's just how football has been. But Sean McVay, who's a very smart coach, and he's always been a very smart coach, that's why he was hired as the youngest coach ever. He's a genius. He was able to figure out, well, yeah, you can just feed a guy, you feed your best player the ball in easy matchups, and you win. That's how football is played everywhere else. Myles Garrett, they don't line him up on the outside every play. No, you put him against the weakest offensive lineman and just let him go to work. Same thing with Aaron Donald. So you're starting to do this now with receivers, but there was only one guy that tried it last year, and it was Cooper Kupp. And now you start to see. I'm very excited to see what happens with Kevin O'Connell because he's the Rams old coordinator, and I want to see how he works with Justin Jefferson. I want to see if everybody can do this. If Cooper Kupp is not some outlier.
I'm gonna give a little bit of a hot take right here. Not really a hot take, but you kind of just brought it up. I think Justin Jefferson can be the 2,000-yard wide receiver.
I was
think it
thinking.
could
I was
happen this
literally.
year.
I was picturing in my head 2,027 yards for Justin Jefferson, and if it's that exact number, I will be moving to Vegas and spending every single dollar I have on lottery in Vegas. It's an interesting call.
Hey, if it works, but like I could just see it. Like I feel like Jefferson just like knows how good he is, and like for a guy like that, like sometimes it's like a little annoying, but like man, like he proves it, like he shows it, and I think like he's been saying like I'm the best guy, I'm number one. Like he's gonna show us why he thinks he's number one, and I just feel like that Vikings offense is gonna improve a hell of a lot this year. We don't have Mike Zimmer running it this year.
Imagine if you were to put prime DeAndre Hopkins into Cooper Kupp's role last season. Do you not think that like I saw a take that Cooper Kupp had the best season that the guy giving the take had ever seen in his life? The best season he'd ever seen in his life. Like, no.
Calvin Johnson.
He was good. Maybe this guy didn't watch Calvin Johnson, but you're absolutely right. If anybody's putting anybody over Calvin Johnson, you might as well just give up. But like, I don't know. He's great. I like Cooper Kupp, but he's not an all-time like spectacular. He's not a triple crown guy, really. He's just not. He won it, and great for him. But like Sean McVay got a triple crown.
As you said, I mean, like
I feel like I'm hating on Cooper Kupp.
You're not hating on Cooper Kupp. You're pointing out some things that people like don't really like to point out. I mean, like you put a lot of talented guys in the same role as Cooper Kupp, they might have done better. I mean, like, again, like Cooper Kupp is a great route runner. He does certain things really good. So that's why you put him there. Cause like you put him on the outside, as you said, he's not going to perform that well at all, but that's fine. You're not saying Cooper Kupp sucks. You're saying you put Cooper Kupp in the right position, he is going to be fantastic. But if you take him out of the perfect position, he's not going to be your triple crown winner. And that's okay to say. Because as you said, you put DeAndre Hopkins there, imagine, so like, I completely get what you're saying. You're not hating. You're pointing out things.
I just want to make it well known that I do like Cooper Kupp. I don't think he's a bad player by any
means. You can't
hate
Cooper Kupp. You can't hate Cooper.
No way. He's awesome. Like he's incredible. He's fun to watch. But like I'll say it again, there are a lot of better people to have in that role, in my opinion.
I will say though, I mean, like it obviously has to do a little bit with scheme, but I remember watching the Super Bowl last year on that final play. I was like, the dude's they took Odell out of the game. I mean, like obviously got hurt, but like, and like I just feel like Cooper Kupp was that guy you had to focus on. And like, you remember watching it. I remember when they were in that red zone, I was like, he's gonna get the ball here, and he's gonna score. Like he's so good at getting. This is a big thing. He's really good at getting to the spot, and like a lot of wide receivers struggle with that, like getting to the spot exactly at that point. And like him and Stafford obviously had a great connection, and that helped. But like, the dude knows how to get to the spot. And I think like that's what makes him so dangerous too.
Yeah, he's very smart. He's such a smart football player. So I get it. I can understand putting him very high on your list for that reason. But just the physical tools, and that's so much of being a wide receiver. He just doesn't check a lot of these boxes for me.
Yeah, I get just thinking about the Super Bowl, sorry, real quick. I am just really sad we never got to really see like Odell and Cooper Kupp though. Because like
so am I. I'm not bet money on Odell. I only bet on Odell in the Super Bowl, and I thought I was like 5 yards away from hitting too, man. But we could have
I had that same
legendary performance. Yeah, I mean we made the bet. We were like, dude, this is gonna hit, and it was going to hit, and we just
It didn't hit.
Yeah, well,
His ACL hit
in
the
my
ground.
mind, in my mind, his ACL hit, dude.
Yeah, so I
That's
mean,
what
like
happened.
that's really what happened. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited to do our Dex division breakdown next week, and let's see what happens here. But I think that's all for today, and it was great. Thanks for being here, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next week.